Hey class, today we're learning about dividing decimals by tens, hundreds, and 1,000. And what do these numbers have in common here? Well, they both start with 1 and they all start with 1 and they all end with a 0. Okay, well, since it just starts with a 1 and ends with the 0, all you have to do when you're dividing by decimals, if a number has a decimal point in it and you are dividing by a tens, a hundreds, 1,000, all you have to do is count the number of zeros that you have here, and you're going to shift your decimal point to the left that many times. Okay, so if it's dividing a number by 10, you're going to shift your decimal point over to the left one time because it has 1 0. That's one place. Because we know that, going back to place value land, is that we know that the charts say that anytime you're going from one place to the next, it is either going to be 10 times greater or 10 times less in every single place that you move. So if you move one place, it's 10 times the place in front of it. If you move over 2 places, it's 100 times the value of that number. If you move over 3 places, it's 1,000 times the value of that place number. So anyways, coming back to our assignment, what does that have to do with this? Well, each one of these zeros represents a place that you're moving over. So, but you're not moving these numbers over, you're moving the decimal point over. What are you talking about, Miss Cortez? Well, let's look at our examples here. I always pay attention to these examples. It says 4.2. I don't know how well you can see that, but it says 4.2 divided by 10. How many zeros does that have? 1. So how many times am I going to shift my decimal point over to the left? Once. So now it's going to shift over here from 4.2, and your answer is going to be 0.42. No longer 4.2. Why? So now let me ask you, would it be better to have 42 cents or $4.20? Well, that's really what you're dealing with when you're dealing with decimals. You put it in money, and it's very simple to understand it. So 42 cents is much less than $4.20. So you know that you're doing it right when the value over here at the end of the road here, your quotient, your answer to your division problem, you know that you got it right if it's decreasing by 1 place. If it's 10, decrease means the value is getting smaller. Okay. So 40.42 is like saying you have 42 cents compared to $4.20. I'd much rather have $4.20. So yes, you got it correct. So moving on here, what about 12.5 divided by 100? Oh no, I don't know how to divide by hundreds, Miss Cortez. You don't need to, really. You just need to count the zeros. It's because it's with decimals. Now this does not work necessarily the same if you don't have the decimals. Okay, in a sense, but okay, anyway, so you have 100, 2 zeros here. Okay, so how many places are we going to move to the left? 2. So 1, 2. So it went from basically $12.50, and now it's like 0.125. Okay, well, anyways, we're not going to go into money anymore because now we're going here to the thousands place. We know with money we're only going to hundreds place. Okay, so it decreased the value. In other words, so this value is much smaller than $12.50 or 12.5. Anytime you have whole numbers in front of that decimal and versus a 0 in the whole numbers, then obviously this one's bigger. Okay, it's like 12 versus 0 in that ones place. Anyway, what about here? Okay, we got 174. There is no decimal. Divided by 1,000. Oh my goodness, Miss Cortez. And don't get freaked out. Remember, you're still learning. So you're going to just count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, and that's how many times you're going to move to the left. But there's no decimal. Remember, I've always told you that you can put a decimal at the end of any whole number and shift it. So now you're going to see how they did that. They would start way back here. If there is no decimal, you start at the very end. And you go 1, 2, 3. So now it is 0.174. And so on. So, okay, there's your examples. Now let's do one in here. It says 521.6 divided by 10. How many zeros does this have? 1. So how many places am I going to shift this decimal? Once. So now my answer is going to look like 52.16. Okay, so 52.16. Okay, great. What about this one? Well, now you're shifting it over 521, same number, but now you're dividing it by 100. So now instead of moving over once, you're going to move over twice. And you have 5.216. Click out of that so you can see it. There you go. Okay, so that's basically it. Again, if it does not have a decimal point, like number 5 here, and number 6, and number 2, look at all these numbers, whole numbers. That's fine. All you're going to do is, just like our example here, you're going to start at the end. So you start at the end and you divide by 10. Okay, how many zeros does 10 have? 1. So you're going to shift your decimal over one place, and in that case it would be 64.7. Okay, no, I'm not going to do them all for you. So I will do one more here. So what about, we're here, I'll do this one. What about 88 divided by 100? So your decimal would go back here. Oh no, I'm going to do this one. What about 88 divided by 1,000? That's 3 places because it's 3 zeros. And you're going to put your decimal at the end. Remember, like this one, you're going to start at the end. And you're going to go over 3 places. 1, 2. What happens? We run out of numbers. What do we always put as our placeholder number? Is a 0. So you're going to have to put a 0 in front of that. And it's going to look like 0.088. Okay. So that is basically it. You just got to count them. Again, if it doesn't have a decimal, you start at the end and just move it over. If you run out of digits, you just do a placeholder of your 0. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions, just you can always message me or leave me a little note here in our assignment on the Google Classroom. That's it. I hope you learned something new today. Bye-bye.